So the first thing we're going to talk about is adding and subtracting fractions. When you're adding and subtracting fractions, the most important thing that you have to do first, you have to make sure that you have a common denominator. Okay? So in a fraction, the top is called the numerator, the bottom is called the denominator. Okay? In order for you to be able to add these two, you must make sure that or to subtract the two, you must have a common denominator in the bottom. Okay? So to find the common denominator, you have to list the multiples of your denominator, and then you're going to find the lowest common one of them. So what are my multiples of 3? What's the multiples of 3, not the factors? 3, 6, 9, 12, right? 15. Okay, so it's something that you multiply 3 times 1, 3 times 2, 3, and so on and so forth. What are your multiples of 4? 4, 8, 12, 16, right? Now I can stop because I found my lowest common multiple, right? You see that number 12 is the first common number between both the multiples of 3 and the multiples of 4. Okay, so I can stop there, and I know that my now common denominator is going to be 12. Now the question is, what do I multiply 3 by to give me 12? 4. Now if I multiply this by 4, anything I do to my denominator, I have to do to my numerator, otherwise I'm changing my fraction. Okay, so I have to multiply the top by 4 as well, and that gives me 4 times 2 is 8. All right? Same thing for my second fraction. What do I multiply 4 by to give me 12? And anything I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. Right? So that gives me a 9. So now because I have a common denominator, I can subtract my numerator. So 8 take away 9, that's negative 1 over 12. The denominator stays the same. Okay? So that gives me an answer of negative 1 over 12. Now you're going to have to look and see if you can reduce this. Can you reduce negative 1 over 12? No, it's a most reduced format, so you leave it and you keep it as is. Okay? So anytime you're adding or subtracting fractions, you have to find your common denominator. And you add and subtract your numerator only. Are we okay with that? What part? The 4.
We find 12, it's okay. I'm understanding.
Okay.
Okay.
So why am I multiplying here by 4?
3 by 4.
Because I want to get 12, right? What do you multiply 3 by to give you 12?
Yeah.
You have to multiply it by 4, right? So if I multiply the denominator by 4, I have to do exactly the same thing for my numerator, right?
Okay.
Now I have to ask myself the same question. What do I multiply this 4 by to give me 12? I have to multiply it by 3. Same thing I do to my denominator, I have to do to my numerator. Are we okay with that? And then for the rest, you just have to subtract your numerator. That's all.
When the denominators are the same.
Yes, it stays the same. Denominator doesn't change. Okay? So this will be done for both adding and subtracting. Okay? When we're talking about multiplication, they're the easier, like of all other operation. Okay? Multiplying fraction, all what you have you have to do, you have to multiply your numerator by the numerator, and you multiply your denominator by the denominator, and then you reduce. Okay? Multiplication is easy. Top by top, bottom by bottom, done. Okay? Yeah.
Since 4 can be divided by 2, can we do it at this point or not?
You can. You can. Okay? So you are allowed to simplify first, but at the same time, I just want to keep it as simple as I can right now. Okay? So if I want to do this, so 2 times negative 1, that's negative 2, over negative 3 times 4 is negative 12. Okay? Now I can simplify. Okay? Again, if you know how to do this thing and you want to simplify before you multiply, I'm totally okay with it as long as you're simplifying top and a bottom. So, what can I reduce negative 2 over negative 12 to?
1/6.
It's going to be 1 over 6. That's right. So, both of them are divisible by 2. Yes? Now, something that you have to remember, that if I divide or I multiply a negative by a negative, it's going to give me a positive, right? So your negative cancel, right? Negative over negative, that's a positive. Same as with multiplication. And then I can divide both of them by 2. So that reduces to 1/6. Okay? Now with the division, it's almost the same thing as the multiplication when you're dividing fraction. The only thing you have to do first is you want to change your division into a multiplication. All right? So the first step is you want to change your division into a multiplication. But once you do that, what happens is your second fraction flips. So I will write this as negative 2 over 5. So the first one stays the same. Change the division into multiplication. And flip your second fraction. And it becomes 4 over negative 3. Now this is a multiplication of fraction. So it's exactly the same thing as the previous question. All what I have to do is multiply numerator by numerator, denominator by denominator, and simplify. So to multiply numerator by numerator, that gives me negative 8 over negative 15. Can I reduce this? Only the negative goes away. 8 is only divisible by 2, 4, and 8. Yes, I only divide 8 by 2, 4, and 8. 15 is only divisible by 3 and 5, right? So there's no common factor, okay? So in this case, the only thing that goes away is your negative, and that becomes 8 over 15, and that's going to be your final answer.
The sign negative doesn't stay in the same place when you flip the second.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If it's negative 3 over 4 or negative 4 over 3, it doesn't matter. Usually we keep the negative with the number that when you flip it, you bring the negative down with your...
But if you leave it on top, it doesn't matter, right?
No. No. So if you have, let's say, negative 2 over 5 times negative 4 over 3, right? When I do negative 2 times negative 4, that gives me a positive 8 over 5 times 3, that's 15. That's what I call it, right? It's still, the negative are going to cancel anyway, right? But I would say always, just for your peace of mind, always bring the negative with the number, okay? Again, I won't be touching a lot of the decimals and the fractions because we don't usually convert, but you guys know that if you want to find this as a decimal, you just have to divide them on the calculator, 3 over 25. Like, it's not going to be a big thing, okay? But we usually like to keep it in fractions.